Hello, people. Welcome to the Creator of Bricks, and I have a review of one of my favorite interpretations of Superman of all time. I'm saying that a lot lately with my reviews, but there's been a lot of Supermans that McFarlane have been making that have been like some of my favorite versions of Superman. The last major interpretation of Superman I'm waiting for McFarlane to make is New 52, and then that'll be like the last of like my major favorite Supermans. And I'm a huge fan of the storyline. I even got the comic out right here. This is one of my favorite versions of Superman. I've always been a big fan of Alex Ross's Superman ever since I first read Kingdom Come back in 2019. I rented it out of a library, and ever since I read that storyline, I've fallen in love with storyline and just Alex Ross's artwork in general. Being painted instead of drawn makes them just come to life. His art gives these characters a certain gravitas that they don't usually have. When people are tasked with making these characters in comics, they're usually kind of more cartoony and less real feeling. And with Alex Ross's books, the artwork makes it feel like I'm reading a movie almost. Just from how realistic everything is being painted instead of drawn. I've always just had a high fascination and appreciation for Alex Ross's artwork. In the storyline of a Superman that has to learn the world doesn't need its problem solved, it just needs a hand that can help guide the world. The thing I can greatly contrast it with is Injustice Superman. This is kind of that kind of characterization, except written correctly and in character for Superman. Injustice Superman is, oh, my girl died, and oh, I'm gonna be a dictator now because my Lois died. Oh, boo-hoo, my baby. Meanwhile, this one has to watch a whole generation of people come up and they're just causing destruction. And his Lois dies, and this is what I imagine Injustice should be instead of how it was written, is how I can liken it to. And I first played Injustice before reading this comic, and then going back and reading the comic recently too, I'm just like, yeah, this is how Injustice should be. Anyway, that's enough rambling. Just know I'm a huge fan of Kingdom Come Superman. This is one I'm a big fan of, and I could go on about for a long time. I also love how Kingdom Come uses Shazam, but that's not about this character. So, anyway, about the figure now. So this one is one of the first figures that's gotten hit with the tariff charge. So instead of it being $25 for usual page punchers, it was $28. So I'm not a big fan of that price. A little bit more than I would want to pay, but due to what's going on with the American government is operating with the trade war right now, it's just what I kind of have to bite the bullet on. So yeah, that's an issue. I wish it wasn't like that. If this was before that, it would have been 25. I think this would have been awesome for 25, just, being an awesome Superman. Yeah, I would have rather it been 25, but it's just how things are right now. The $3 difference is kind of annoying, especially considering you don't really get a lot with this figure. You only get a flight stand right here and 2 extra fists, and then a comic. $28 stings a little bit. But anyway, about the figure itself. So, there are a few things that I do not like, or mainly one thing. It is very obvious that there needed to be a lot more gray in this hair. It is there, but it is not nearly visible enough to where it should be. In the comics that this figure is based on, and the one it comes with, it is a lot more visible than what this is. It's very light and you can barely see it. It's not easy to see. See right here in this panel with Bruce Wayne and Wonder Woman, you can see that it's very, very obviously white right there. It goes all around the back of his skull like that. Instead of being this very light kind of thing, it should be a lot more apparent and a full-on streak, kind of like Mr. Fantastic. Very simple fix though, just get some white paint out. That is something that just should be there though, to be accurate, especially since this is a reused mold, and I'll get in that to a bit. But everything else about this is accurate to the books. I would complain about no yellow S, but then again, it's accurate to the book. So yeah, the only inaccurate thing about this figure is it barely has the white on the back of the skull, slash the temples. So that's an issue. Something I did previously have an issue with first looking at the figure in photos was this head sculpt, but as I have it in hand here, the more I kind of light it in the shadows and things, kind of like the artwork of Alex Ross, where they're very deep shadows, kind of like a film like I mentioned earlier, it looks better. I think what doesn't help it is the fact that there's this huge forehead here and the eyes. There's something off about the eyes, but it does look like Alex Ross's Superman in hand. It didn't really in photos, but in hand it does. Having it in more of the yellow orangey kind of lighting that I have here makes it look like it, because Alex Ross has like an orange palette. But yeah, compared to the reference here, I think it does actually look pretty similar. The jaw structure is the same, nose is the same. I think mostly everything about this looks the same as the reference. Even the big forehead's the same. I forgot that he does kind of have a big cranium in Kingdom Come. But yeah, you can see that it's actually pretty similar here. Yeah, I didn't realize that when I first looked at the photos. That actually is pretty similar. And in person, I realized that it does actually look pretty similar. And actually looking at the reference here, maybe the logo could have been wider, but I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. That's a fine size for this. But then again, you also have reference from that book. But yeah, that's how it is in terms of being accurate to the source. So the next thing I'll talk about is the articulation of this figure. So this is the max range up, but do beware, if you do go too far up, it will tear the back of the hair, so do be mindful. Down is this much. It's not really too much there, and you can see I kind of stressed the back of the hair a little bit. So here's the torso in a neutral position. The most you can get back is this much. This is how far forward he can go. It's still not great. I still wish McFarlane would get better with this, but it's whatever at this point. This is how far in the arms will go in, and here's how far up they will go. So that's what you get there. Bicep swivel goes all the way around, pretty smooth. So you can get a full-on bend right there. For the waist, you get this much split, and for the leg, you can go forward that much. So pretty good right there, but do be mindful of the underwear. It will tear if you're not careful. And for the knees, you get this much bend. Pretty nice right there. The ankles, you get 5 notches, this far forward, this far back, pivot, and toe articulation. And since this figure has a wired cape, you can do this with the cape. So that's how the figure stacks up in terms of articulation. It could be better. The ab articulation is always the worst thing about McFarlane figures. Sometimes they do good, sometimes they're absolutely terrible. This one's kind of the terrible category for the ab articulation. It's great in every other area, though. I can't complain about anything else but that torso. It is always the torso with McFarlane that absolutely sucks. But yeah, that's how it stacks up there. So figure I wanted to bring out was the Max Fleischer Superman. The Alex Ross design of Superman is actually based on the Max Fleischer Superman, so I think it's pretty cool that McFarlane was able to do the inspiration and the thing inspired by the inspiration. And it's actually fun that both of them are on the same body, because Alex Ross based the frame of his Superman on Max Fleischer Superman. It's actually in this book. So yeah, in the version of Kingdom Come that I have, they actually go through all the biographies of the characters, and they talk a bit about the inspiration. Yeah, I think that's really cool how we have what this is based on. The actual design of this character was based on this, so I think it's really cool that we have both of these now. You can see where the inspiration comes from with this design. Is very apparent in how everything is, just very similar color palette. The fact that there's the black S in there with the red. The only thing here that is different is the yellow border is not present, but mostly everything's the same, except like the belt is different. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool that we have both of these in the DC multiverse. Here is the Kingdom Come Superman with my 90s mullet-haired Superman. I think it would actually be really cool if McFarlane made something exactly like this, except not with this head on there. Because Alex Ross's Superman looks exactly like this, and I partially based my custom on his Superman, which I mentioned in that video. I'll probably have a card up. But yeah, I love Alex Ross Superman. I love to see just a straight up Alex Ross Superman, because he always liked to do the logos huge like that, and I'm just a big fan of that. And Alex Ross Superman is actually the Superman I have over my Superman shelf. So I have this poster of Superman, and it's Alex Ross's Superman, and it's this design that he did for what was it, Superman Peace on Earth, I believe. And here he is with Power Girl in the diaper. I did have her in a sitting position with one leg because she's too tall, so I made her a little shorter by having her kind of crouched down. But anyway, yeah, here's these two together. Kind of interesting because you got these two in the comic that's included with Kingdom Come Superman here. Here he is with Jay Garrick. Here he is with Alan Scott. I think it'd be really cool to get like the emerald armor that he had in Kingdom Come. Yeah, I think this would be pretty cool at some point. Here he is next to Wildcat. Here he is with the dead man I just broke trying to get him for the review. I was trying to put his arms down just so he wouldn't look awkward, but I broke his arm. Yeah, that's the Alex Ross Kingdom Come Superman, or DC Direct Page Puncher Superman. Yeah, there he is. It's him reviewed, and yeah, I think this is a very fun figure. I wish he wasn't $28 now. I don't know if I want to take that away from his score. You know what, I'll do two different scores. That's what I'll do. So in terms of just being a figure, I think he is a solid 9. I think he does everything right. There's 2 criticisms I have for him as just the figure itself. Ab crunch is terrible and the hair is inaccurate, but everything else is pitch perfect. So yeah, that's why he gets a 9. Everything about him besides those 2 issues is on point. But in terms of price, value, and on a figure level, all considered, the overall score I would say is probably like a 7.5. You don't get very much with this figure. You just get the comic book, 2 hands, and a flight stand. Not the greatest value. It would have been better if it was just 25, but now it's 28. So now I gotta drop the price. If it was just the 25 from before, I think it would have probably had it at like an 8.5 to 8 ratio. But due to the pricing considered, I think it is a 7.5 overall. That's just how I feel with that issue. Figure level, 9. Great. Value level, not the greatest. I think it's lacking there. But I will say, I'm not sure what else you would have threw with this, but I think another head would have been cool, or maybe something other than just the open hands that we always get with this body for Superman. So yeah, I'm gonna be a little harsh, even though I like this figure and I love Kingdom Come. I'm gonna be a little harsh, a little bit, because I do feel like the value is lacking. I gotta be a little bit more critical due to the price going up. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this. Hopefully you enjoyed this review, and yeah, thanks for watching.